Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 44? 44, yes, of the Truth of Therapy sessions. Wow, has it been 44 episodes already? Time is flying by. But it's been a while since I've done one of these shows, actually, because I have been on the podcast circuit for the past 2 months. And everybody wants to do a podcast on a Sunday. Everybody wants to record on a Sunday. Maybe it's something to do with the time difference, because I'm in the UK. Maybe it's just easier for Americans to do their podcasts on Sundays or pre-record their podcasts on a Sunday. I'm not sure, but it always clashes with when I need to do my live show with you guys. But here I am. I'm free this Sunday, so I thought I'd check in with another Truther Therapy session. Got a few things to talk about today, but before I do that, let me just get into the chat and make sure everything's okay and you guys can hear me. So let me know if everything's okay in the chat, guys. If sound's coming through, if I'm not just talking to the air, as does sometimes happen, as inept as I am with technology. Who have we got? So we've got Justice, thanks for being here. Does anyone remember Shrek is Love and Shrek is Life poem? Oh, I remember that. That's old school internet days. Yeah. Oh boy, I love this poll. Let's go, says Arlodius. I'm guessing the title got you there. Amelia, thanks for being here. Humble Stranger, great to see you. Sounds good, excellent. MK Ryan, thanks for being here. Kevin, yep, excellent. And Gregory, right. So we've got a few people in already. 34 people? 34 people already. Wow, that shot up pretty quick. Excellent. Well, thanks for being here, guys. Like I said, I'm going to do a little presentation. Nothing major today, just a few funny random little tidbits I've picked up over the past couple of months, which I thought would be fun to just bring to you guys for a laugh. Today is Halloween. I didn't plan on doing a Halloween show. I don't have a Halloween special planned out for you guys or anything, but I will do a quick talk about Samhain. Or Samhain, or however the hell you pronounce the thing that looks like it's spelt Samhain, but it's a Celtic holiday, and obviously we're in that leaving autumn, going into winter period, and it's spooky season, isn't it? So I'll give a quick discussion about Samhain and just that basic premise, but I also have a few other random things I want to share with you today as well. Again, just little things people have sent me here and there, which I thought were quite funny. Make me laugh anyway, as I read some of them, and some of them are pretty disturbing as well, I'm not going to lie. So what's going on, right? Ads of Steel Gaming, thanks for being here. You sound great, brother, excellent, that's good to know, Everything's all good. Let's get together, yep. It's snowing right now, says Humble Stranger. Ooh, is it snowing in England? No, it's just miserably cold and raining, as per usual. Celtic New Year. Yes, Samhain is a Celtic thing, isn't it? It goes into real ancient Celtic mythology. It's just a really old folk tradition, and it goes basically the opposite to the Beltane, which would be the summer, the end of spring going into summer, I think it is, it's halfway, it's the other side of the halfway point of the year. Which is all about, it's like a life festival, and I suppose Samhain is the death festival, so Beltane in the summer, and we have Samhain in the winter. Yes, it's a spooky time, because if I just bring up the basic history of Samhain here, it says it's sort of a Gaelic festival on the 1st of November, marking the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, or darker half of the year. It is also the Irish language name for November. Celebrations begin at the evening of the 31st of October, since the Celtic day began and ended at sunset. This is about halfway between the autumnal equinox and winter solstice. It is one of 4 Gaelic seasonal festivals along the Imbolc, Beltane and Lughnasadh. Historically, it was widely observed throughout Ireland, Scotland, and the Isle of Man. A similar festival is held by the Brittonic Celtic people called Calangaeth in Wales. Samhain is believed to have Celtic pagan origins, and some Neolithic passage tombs in Ireland and Britain are aligned with the sunrise at the time of Samhain. It is mentioned in the earliest Irish literature from the 9th century and is associated with many important events in Irish mythology. The early literature says Samhain was marked by great gatherings and feasts and was when the ancient burial mounds were open, which were seen as portals to the other world. Some of the literature also associates Samhain with bonfires and sacrifices. The festival was not recorded in detail until the early modern era, and was when cattle were brought down from the summer pastures and livestock were slaughtered. Special bonfires were lit, which were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers. Like Beltane, Samhain was a liminal or threshold festival, when the boundary between this world and the other world thinned, making contact with the spirits or fairies. Most scholars see them as remnants of pagan gods. At Samhain, they were appeased with offerings of food and drink to make sure the people and livestock survived the winter. The souls of dead kin were also thought to revisit their homes seeking hospitality, and a place was set at the table for them during a meal. Mumming and guising were part of the festival, from at least the early modern era, whereby people went door to door in costume, reciting verses in exchange for food. Costumes may have been a way of imitating and guising oneself from divination, or the demons or the spirits. Divination was also a big part of the festival, and often involved nuts and apples. In the late 19th century, John Rees and James Fraser suggested it had been the Celtic New Year, but that has been disputed. In the 9th century of the Western Church, the Western Church endorsed the 1st of November as All Saints' Day, possibly due to the influence of Alcuin, and 2nd of November later became All Souls' Day. It is believed that Samhain and All Saints/All Souls influenced each other and the modern Halloween. Most American Halloween traditions were inherited from Irish and Scottish immigrants. Folklorists have used the name Samhain to refer to Gaelic Halloween costumes up until the 19th century. Since the later 20th century, Celtic neo-pagans and Wiccans have observed Samhain, or something based on it, as a religious holiday. So there's a basic, straight from Wikipedia, breakdown of what Samhain is. According to Irish mythology, Samhain, like Beltane, was a time when the doorways to the other world were opened, allowing supernatural beings and the souls of the dead to come into our world. While Beltane was a summer festival for the living, Samhain was essentially a festival for the dead. Now, isn't that just interesting, And this goes way back to the time of the Tuatha Dé Danann, in Celtic mythology, the ancient kings and rulers of that time as well. It sounds to me a lot like a ancestor spirit worship ritual, just a highly European version. I think the ancestors they're referring to aren't really, again, grandma or granddad. These are the ancient gods and spirits and builders of those civilizations. So Nephilim, And you look at some of the costumes people wear during this festival, and it's stupid, They basically get half naked, cover themselves in leaves, and put on antlers, and pale face themselves up, give themselves wild bushy red hair. It's all the usual stuff. It's all the usual Nephilim channeling nonsense. But obviously this is where Halloween essentially came from, or our modern day version of Halloween, What we do today is loosely based on this. Like I said, it was a tradition brought over to America. What we do in Halloween today is kind of a highly commercialized version of these ancient pagan practices. And that's pretty much everything we do in terms of festival seasons, and holiday seasons. It seems to be how we do it. So yeah, if you didn't know that already, look into the history of Samhain. It's an interesting one. And it's a creepy time. I mean, what's this? Related festivals. So modern day, I think the modern day people who try and do these type of old pagan rituals are a bit cringy, to be honest. But here we have, what's this? Samhain is a Gaelic festival marking the end of harvest season. spirit fairies more easily come into our world. And I don't know, just look, if I share the screen with you, there's an image here on Wikipedia, and it's kind of, just look how, don't these guys just look really cringy? Absolute nerds, you know what I mean? They don't know what they're doing. These guys have nothing to do with Samhain, and there's the wild man in the background, you know, and the undead, and whatever the hell that thing's supposed to be is. You got this, look how deep and brooding this one looks. And then you got the Hat Man in the middle there with his black and white fractaled clothing on, and his purple dreadlocks. So it's usual cast of characters. This is just the Nephilim, isn't it? These are the clowns on the other side, and it's just another culturally stylized version of the same thing we find in all ancestor spirit culture worship cults. But this one just has a particular flavour of cringe from this modern day version of it. I don't think we should be doing these type of things anymore. But as usual, there are always a bunch of dreadlocked hippies dancing around a fire, you know, the usual nonsense. I don't think the people who do these things today really know what they're doing. I don't think they actually understand. But how can you look at that and not think that looks satanic as hell? I mean, look at these people. Do they not see how cringe they are? Like, I don't know. I thought we were past this, you know? It just looks silly to me. And, you know, in Britain, we have this thing called Bonfire Night, which is only a few days after Samhain, which is on the 5th of November, and it's supposed to say, you know, be commemorating Guy Fawkes' attempt at blowing up Parliament, basically, his foiled attempt, you know. And we say, you know, we remember the 5th of November, you know, and we have our own bonfire where we burn an effigy of Guy Fawkes, you know, on the 5th. But I'm wondering if that's just some stupid cover story to take part in the Samhain, where the veil is thinnest, fire rituals of some kind. It's probably just the timing of it all does just seem a bit suspect, if you ask me. But yeah, because it says here what a ritual bonfires. Like Beltane, bonfires were lit on hilltops at Samhain, and were the rituals involving them. By the early modern era, they were most common in parts of Scottish Highlands, on the Isle of Man, and in the north, mid-Wales, and in parts of Ulster. They were formerly need fires, but this custom died out. Likewise, only certain kinds of wood were traditionally used, but later records show that many kinds of flammable materials were burnt. It's suggested that the fires were a kind of imitative or sympathetic magic, mimicking the sun, helping the powers of growth, and holding back the decay of darkness of winter. I mean, that's a very generous way of describing it, isn't it? They may also have been served as symbolically to burn up and destroy all harmful influences. Again, this strange Western perception of, you know, we can scare away evil by doing evil things. You know, accounts from the 18th and 19th century suggest that the fires, smoke, and ashes were deemed to have protective and cleansing powers. Boys asked for bonfire fuel from each house in the village in the early 19th century. When the fire was lit, one after another the youths laid themselves down on the ground as near to the fire as possible as not to be burnt, and in such a position as to let the smoke roll over him. Others ran through the smoke and jumped over him. When the bonfire burnt down, they scattered the ashes, vying with each other who should scatter them most. In some areas, 2 bonfires would be side by side, and the people, sometimes with their livestock, would walk between them in a cleansing ritual. The bones of slaughtered cattle were said to have been cast upon the bonfires. People also took flames from the bonfire back to their homes. During the 19th century parts of Scotland, torches of burning fir or turf were carried sunwise around homes and fields to protect them. In some places, people doused their hearth fires on Samhain night. Each family then solemnly relit its hearth from the communal bonfire, thus bonding the community together. The 17th century writer Geoffrey Keating claimed that it was an ancient tradition instituted by the Druids. Dousing the old fire and bringing in the new may have been a way of banishing evil, which is part of New Year festivals in many countries. So whatever, you know, I don't believe in this nonsense of being able to ban or scare away evil by doing some sort of ritual or fire ritual or dressing like a demon or whatever the hell they do. I think it's all a lot of nonsense. If anything, you're probably opening up portals to demons, considering, as they literally just said, this is when the veil is thinnest between spirit realm and the physical realm during this particular period of time. The bonfires were used in divination, apparently, and it says here, people used it to talk to their ancient gods. It's all this basically says here. So moving along quickly as to keep this show going, but spirits and souls, boundary between the world and the other world could more easily be crossed, and that's what this is all about. This is what this is all about, and this is what it truly is. So yeah, if you have any wonders about Halloween and where we get it from, look no further than ancient Celtic traditions. Spooky stuff. Spooky. So what have I got here? So speaking of immigrants from Scotland and Ireland coming over to America, and introducing this thing we have called All Hallows Eve, which became Halloween based on All Saints, and all this type of stuff. Well, someone sent me a link to this video here from a channel called Slapped Ham, and I don't know anything about the channel, but he basically compiled a load of images of early Halloween costumes, and they are absolutely mortifyingly terrifying. Look at these. So let's just skip through some of these and just for a bit of fun to see what the first people who did the first Halloween dressed like. Look at that. That is utterly... Oh, that is so creepy. It looks like he's wearing a gimp mask in the background there, doesn't it? And there's just something uncanny about these things. And I think it's because they're all handmade. They're all crooked. This is before mass-produced Halloween costumes were made. These are all handmade costumes and inspired by things of the times or whatever that were. It seems like clowns were a really popular one. I mean, if you look to the left here, you can see two young men wearing cone heads just below the pig here in the top corner, and they're mimicking clowns that they must have seen in traveling circuses. I mean, look at this creepy-looking thing. Can you imagine these early Halloweens? What they were like? These things walking about, these monsters, truly monsters. There's something horrifying about it, isn't there? I mean, look at this. These masks are just, I don't know, they give me the creeps anyway. Look at these children here. That's just terrifying, isn't it? I mean, what is it they're trying to mimic here? What are they going for exactly? They all look like pagan cult members, don't they? This was a different time. And it's like they all got creative back in the day with the decorations, these women giving the illusion of floating heads on a washing line or something. I mean, look at this. Supposed to be a fly? Is this person supposed to be a fly of some kind? I don't know. I get images in my mind of the mixing of kinds when I look at this type of stuff. Does anyone remember that film, The Fly? Where a man starts transforming into a fly slowly and painfully and grotesquely. Was that hinting at the whole mixing of genetic kinds mentioned in the Book of Jasher? Was that an example of that? Look at this one. Look at the smile on this thing here. On this one on the left. Ugh. Insane. Again, absolutely mortifyingly nightmare-fueling insanity. These creepy hat men here. So what were these things channeling unknowingly? And look at all these clowns. What's with the cone heads? Was this a Poirot ripoff? Was there a particular clown that inspired this look? I don't know. It's all very ghoulish, isn't it? Very creepy and ghoulish. Look at this one. This one looks just like something Joseph Grimaldi would have had his face painted like, one of the first clowns of the early 1800s. Perhaps that's was inspired by just the circuses were beginning to spread their way through America during this time period. And that maybe the clown did become a hot topic, a particular type, that people just had to dress like. I mean, look at these, it's just these doll masks. They're just so creepy, aren't they? Lifeless, soulless, dead behind the eye look, And I don't know if that was their intention. Maybe they weren't as easily freaked out back then as we were. I don't know. But I mean, look at these oversized, grotesque-looking heads on them as well. I'm getting Attack on Titan vibes from these ones. Look at the creepy animal masks. I mean, I don't know what this thing on the right is supposed to be. No idea. I guess that's a lion on the left. some old crone in the middle, and I wouldn't even hazard a guess. I have no idea what that is on the right. Another creepy clown there. Look at look at these things. What is that? I don't even know what to say about that one. Yeah, we got people trying to get dressed in Mickey Mouse costumes here. Look at this one. Ugh. That's really creepy, isn't it? I think we're getting closer to more of the modern age now, but some of these photos, but it's just truly uncanny. There's just something off-putting about these really old first Halloween costumes, you know, and this is what the kids were dressing in. I mean, absolutely mortifyingly hideous. Like, absolutely, it baffles me. You know, this is the generation that thought it was cute to see their children scream in fear of clowns, you know, and then they all become desensitized and end up loving clowns for some reason. And I mean, look at these things. Look at them. Absolutely terrifying. What were they thinking? This generation was weird. They had a weird sense of humor, a weird sense of fear. They had no fear from the looks of it. I don't know what was going on with them. They were just not. They're not like us. They weren't like us. They were built different. Is all I can say about that. So there you go. I thought I'd share that with you guys. And here's a bit of fun. There's a bit of modern horror for you. Look what I found for the wallet friendly price of only £167 British. That's about $190. You can have a pair of your own cheese shoes. Look at these things. Look at these clown shoes by Heyday. Original design. You can have your own pair of Mickey Mouse cheese inspired shoes. Look at these things. Wouldn't you just want to wear these and walk around in these? I mean, look how epic that cut was. It's just like you're wearing cheese on your feet. This is avant-garde fashion, don't you know? I mean, look at these models wearing them. Look how serious he looks. Doesn't he look cool? Don't you want to be like this guy? Or this guy? I mean, look, he's screaming into the ether while covering his ears with them. Does that not make you want to buy them now? Surely it does. I mean, what about this person here? Look how edgy he is with his black and white fractal design clothing. Look, he's better than you. He's bigger than you. He's looking down upon you with his big clown shoes. Don't you want to be like that? Don't you want to be the one looking down on people like a giant? Buy these stupidly overpriced rubber shoes. And I just can't believe it. But this is a genuine fashion thing. You know, people are wearing these type of things. And this is just one of the many big shoes that are currently being like sold to people. I mean, this is just one. I mean, what's the other one? Are they called Satan's shoes? Red or something like that? Not these ones. Never mind them. The big red shoes. Big red shoes. Earlier this year, just before the cheese, these were all the rage, and all the TikTokers were wearing these, and all the influencers were wearing these clown feet things, these rubber things, you know. And now it's the Heyday big cheese, you know. Get with the times. But this is all rolling off the 2023 being the year of clown fashion. You know, the clown core aesthetic is in right now as of the start of the year. All the runways were parading clown fashion, you know. If I just type in clown core, you can see. What have we got? Clown core. That's a band called Clown Core, which makes a really, really smooth jazz, I think. It's really bizarre. Clown core is the larger than life fashion trend taking over the runways, you know, and they're pushing it on you. And you're literally seeing influencers start dressing like clowns to try and bring that aesthetic to the people in ridiculous ways. And the shoes I just showed you are an example of this trend coming to the market, you know. It's real. It's real. They truly are pushing clown fashion on us right now. For obvious reasons, you dress like the thing to channel the thing, even if you don't know that's what you're doing. So they know what they're doing. They're clever about it, and we are just stupid. And on the clown stuff a little bit more, if you look at this here, every like month or every spooky season or every few months or so, there's always a a news article released or something released explaining why people are scared of clowns, just to reinforce why people are scared of clowns. And it's always the same answer. I'm not going to play this clip here, but go to ABC if you want to listen to it. But it's just a 2-minute clip. For copyright reasons, I'm not going to play it. But she basically says the same thing they've been saying over and over again since forever. People are scared of clowns because they can't understand the emotions of the person who's dressed like a clown. Because they have perma-smile. It's uncanny to us. It freaks us out. It makes us feel uncomfortable when we can't read the emotions of somebody. And that's just bullshit. But they keep rolling it out. They keep saying it every 3 months or so, like they're trying to hide something, you know. And apparently 5% of the population of people are scared of clowns. That's a huge percentage. I'm sorry, it is. Like, that's a lot of people when you think about it. It's probably more, to be honest. But they always look out for these articles. They always come about every 3 months or so. There's always a new one released. Why people are scared of clowns, and they always say the same thing. It's the uncanny valley. People, they can't read people's emotions, therefore people get scared. And that's not it. It goes way deeper than that. This is an ancient predator that humanity has had to contend with. I think it's genetically built into our DNA to naturally be repulsed and terrified at the visage of a clown, because they are the visage of things that used to eat us. A predator of ours. So in the spirit of the world clowning around and getting absolutely ridiculous lately, did you hear about this? Did you know about this? Blizzard is giving away a high-end gaming PC with a water cooling system that's going to be infused with real human blood. And this is all done as a part of a blood donation campaign. So as soon as they've got 666 quarts of blood donated, one lucky winner is going to win this blood-infused PC. And this is to supposedly, you know, as like a promotion thing for the new Diablo game that's coming out, Diablo 4 Blood Harvest. And it's, come on, they're literally pushing Satanism on us now. And where do you think that blood's actually going? This is just weird, you know, and blood is involved in satanic rituals. Okay, they use the blood, they drink the blood, they pour blood on people, they do all sorts of things with blood during satanic rituals, and now people are just giving it to them. They don't even have to get it in sneaky ways anymore, you know, like stealing from the hospitals that they own, or murdering people and simply draining them like cattle, you know. I think now that they've just got the people sending the blood to them directly, straight from the source. And they don't have to get their hands dirty in the process. And so this is just another example of the absolute lunacy and stupidity going into today's modern world. It is a fallen world, isn't it? I mean, and stuff like this is just a brilliant example of it. I'm not even going to read the article. I've pretty much just summed up everything there, you know, and it's a really powerful gaming computer you get, you know, i9 graphics. i9 processor, GeForce graphics, you know, it's got 3 terabytes storage, it's got a solid state drive, you know, it's up there, you know, it's got a shit ton of RAM, it's got 64 gigabytes of RAM, like, that's just silly, no one needs that much stuff, but, yeah, so, you know, I wouldn't recommend donating your blood to this thing. You could probably build your own PC and skip the blood-infused water cooling system, and you probably get the same results. But there we go, guys. I thought I'd share that with you as well. Skipping through some of the random articles I've got. This thing, I will make a separate video on this, but everyone's been telling me about it, and I have watched it, and it's called The Amazing Digital Circus by an animator called Glitch, I believe. And everyone is fanboying really hard over the main character, this woman here called Pomni, who basically ends up trapped in a virtual reality in which it's a circus themed video game, early 2000s style video game realm, in which people who have put on a VR headset are now stuck. And they all basically are slowly on the descent to losing their minds and becoming utterly detached from reality to the point where they abstract and then they become a black goo beast monster covered in eyes when they do finally abstract. And basically, the pilot's just been released, and the main character is this jester woman who's been called Pomni, who's constantly terrified and neurotic about everything going on, and she just wants to escape, And obviously, the perverts are already out there, hypersexualizing her to beyond belief. Absolute degenerates, honestly. This world is fallen. But there is a clown character in it called Kothmo, and basically he you never see him. You only see his abstracted form, which is a black goo wild glitching monster. And he was one of the first characters. You didn't see it happen, but he lost his mind, basically, and it was the clown. So I thought that was interesting. And I think it's also interesting that the leader of the AI, the one who runs the whole thing and keeps everyone trapped there, or maybe not trapped there, but it's kind of trapped there with them, therefore tries to keep them entertained as they lose their mind, is called Cain, and he is the ringleader. And obviously, this is a Freemason reference through and through, and it's the ringleader of the circus is the Grand Worshipful Master of the Lodge, as I've explained many times before. And even at one point, while he's above his checkerboard, flawed reality he creates, he even says, I keep an eye on you with my many all-seeing eyes, and all this type of stuff. And he can basically manipulate reality in ways that are just insane, because he controls the entire construct of the projection of the reality they're in, this AI projection. And it's interesting. There's a lot in this. There's a lot to break down. And I'll make a video about it, talking about it. Maybe for the Nephilim Look Like Clowns series, because it's just a bit on the nose, considering everything I've been talking about for the past year. And they'll bring him back up and revived. And then suddenly this thing comes out, and it's a circus-themed animation. And it's bigger than ever. People are obsessed with it. There's the abstract form, by the way, of the clown going into the abyss with all the other abstracted people, if you were wondering. And it's just the timing is bizarre. It's like, as soon as I start bringing up the clown stuff again, suddenly 2023 is the year of the clown fashion, and clown themed animations are coming out, and people are obsessing over them, going wild, and it's something weird. Something weird's going on, isn't it? Something spiritual is happening here. But yeah, the one thing worthy of note right now is perverts are absolutely lusting over this thing. I mean, it's just sad. It's just absolutely sad. Anyway, moving on from that, I'll make an episode about that, guys. But I'd like to thank the Speed of Shadow for sending me a nice email showing me this. There's more modern artwork out, guys, and they've showed a crucified Ronald McDonald in the visage of Jesus Christ. And someone here has wrote an article about it who's not really for it, is against it. But this is... To me, I've seen this before as an artist, as someone with a fine art degree. This isn't actually new. In fact, this is plagiarism through and through. So apparently in Barcelona is where this art has been created. What was it? A crucifix in the city's Museum of Forbidden Art. So, whatever. But anyway, this stupid image here, which basically means nothing, but it shows the degradation of art and the veneration of the clown, has actually been done like 2 decades prior by Jake and Dinos Chapman on their tiny little dioramas they created. And here's a bunch of crucified Ronald McDonalds, more than one in fact. And this is a couple of decades before this one was created. So this is just plagiarism as far as I'm concerned. This is nothing new, nothing special. And Jake and Dinos Chapman, these two perverts, are people I'm going to have to make my own video on already. I've already got one planned. I've got a folder full of their artwork ready to go. And, these people bought the original artwork of Goya and then desecrated them by painting clown faces on top of the artwork, as you can see here, Yeah, and they did a lot of stuff with clowns where they basically defaced Goya's original prints and etchings with clown faces, depicting the horrors of the Spanish Civil War, But not only that, these guys are involved with all sorts of nasty, weird stuff. Basically just degenerate perverts who have been hiding behind the guise of modern art to show their disgusting perversions through their artwork. But I find it interesting, they did an ancestor spirit artifact worship museum display, where they basically made up their own artifacts to look like ancient folk traditional artifacts from Africa, and that venerate spirits, and they made them look like clowns, and they made it look like a veneration of fast food commercial culture, and Ronald McDonald was the centerpiece, basically. So these guys, I think they knew what was going on. I think they know a thing or two. I think they've channeled a Nephilim or two. Look at this red-haired, pale-skinned thing in the background here. That was on a podium. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. These guys are definitely in the game or in the secret societies or something. They're a part of it all, and that's why they get to have their artwork in the museums peddling their nonsense. Anyway, there's just a few little tidbits I wanted to share with you guys. I'm going to go back to the chat now, see what you are all saying. It should be interesting. I'll just put the slideshow back on while I'm doing that. Yeah, let's see what's going on. Let's see what you guys have to say. Let's catch up. Let's have a talk. How long have we been going for? 40 minutes already. All right. Good timing. Usually I get those presentations go on a bit longer than I anticipate, but it looks like I managed to keep it at a reasonable level this time. So let me just quickly bring up the chat here. Right, so let's see what's going on. If I scroll up to the top, and let's see what's going on here. Natasha, great to see you. Can't believe a lot of Christians celebrate Halloween. Wake up, people. Yeah. I wouldn't take part in any Beltane or Samhain fire rituals if I was you. That's for sure. There's a certain feeling I like it. I'm in a house of heathens who are ecstatic about today. I'm dressed up in the armour of God. Yeah, I'm Irish and I know what they do up in the rural hills. Thousands, if not millions, of animals raised and slaughtered for this heinous night. Oh yeah. I mean that. Don't get me wrong, guys. That Wikipedia thing I read definitely paints it all in a neutral, if not slightly positive light. This is a heinous sacrifice ritualistic period. Okay, this is a lot of terrible things happen during this time. It's a high witchcraft period, and sacrifices are made. And it's quite sickening actually. So what else have we got? Another holiday as declared by the Catholic pagan church. This is what I mean. Yeah, the Catholics definitely try to Christianize a lot of pagan stuff, and you can't do it. It can't be done. You leave it behind and move on. You don't try and incorporate paganism into Catholic rituals and or Christian ritual. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, a lot of that did go on for sure. So they commit massive sins to get the spirits to come. Basically, yeah, that's right, Justice. Yeah. The Day of the Dead spirits, dead Nephilim spirits, that's right. Yeah, because obviously our spirits don't reside in some astral realm wandering the earth like ghosts. Only the Nephilim. That's the lie people need to realise, Our spirits sleep when we die. We don't wander around. People can't communicate with us with a Ouija boards or stuff like that when we die, The only thing you're going to get in contact with are the Nephilim. That's it. And the sooner people realise that, the sooner all this stuff just becomes apparent for what it truly is. Absolutely. No need for more spirits, if you ask me. That's right. Someone randomly just said Beetlejuice there for some reason. It's all demonic, innit? Basically, yeah. Yeah, everything's just demons. Have you paid attention to the Prince of Saudi Arabia? He is in the prime candidate of the Antichrist. There are many Nephilim elements tied to him besides Islam. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess about any of that. It is all cringe, says Natasha. Absolutely. I want to know your thoughts on makeup. You're snarky about people dressing up and their creative side, so I don't understand the reason behind your tone. genuinely curious, says Lael. I mean, I'm not sure what you're asking me there. My thoughts on makeup. I think it's sad when people feel the need to change their physical appearance in order to feel good about themselves. Personally, I think that's a sad state of affairs that we live in a society that pushes that on especially young women. Also, makeup is not an innocent thing as much as we think it is. It was introduced to us by the fallen angels, and it was not only simply introduced as a way to beautify ourselves. Makeup is used in rituals for the sole purpose of mimicking things in the spirit realm. You dress like the thing to evoke the thing. So makeup in itself, I think, was taught to us by the fallen angels as a tool or method to commune with the spirit realm. I think that's more what was going on there when it describes that Azazel taught, the way of beautifying oneself with colourful tinctures. I think the whole point wasn't simply just to attract a mate. It was actually a seriously well-taught method and tool and way of using colours and form and shape and line to contort one's body to look more like something in the spirit realm in order to be possessed by it or channel it. So that's it. And in terms of my, snarky about people dressing up and their creative side, I mean, I'm all for people being creative, but a lot of these people who get creative in that way, like those people who were dressed up as demons, basically, it's just cringy as hell. It looks awful. Like, it looks stupid and weird to me, and that's just my opinion. I'm allowed to have that. I haven't, but I checked him out. Walking through the midst of two fires, that's an old world covenant, yes. Costume parties are fun, though, I admit. I just feel like we are celebrating evil and introducing it to innocent kids. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you dressed up like, another human, it's not like you're channeling that human who might still be alive. You know what I mean? It's not like... But when you dress in a specific way, which represents a demonic entity, that's where you have to start being careful. There's nothing wrong with dressing up like a... I don't know. Let me think. Like a satellite or something, or dressing up like a tree, or I don't know, dressing up like an animal or something, like whatever. You know what I mean? When you're dressing up like a demon, that's something else. You got to be careful about that. And I understand there's a fine line between having fun and seriously trying to evoke the spirits. Don't get me wrong. I'm not completely oblivious to that. You just have to be careful. Snarky, what is that? Genuinely curious. It's like sarcastic, snippy, underhanded, blasé, passive. That's many ways to describe snarky, I think. Something like that. And I do get pretty snarky with a lot of these people I'm describing and talking about on here. But if people get offended by that, that's their problem, not mine. Awesome find, those pictures. The Halloween ones, yeah, they were creepy. Absolutely creepy. The world is definitely a stage, yeah. What are we going? Well, what have we got here? Shrunken heads, yep. I remember it. Flying was in the machine, and the poor man's DNA got mixed with it. That's it, the fly, yeah. The fly was in the machine. It was like a teleportation device, wasn't it? And the fly got in there with him or something like that. That was a creepy one, yeah. It was more disgusting than scary, absolutely. But I suppose it's an interesting idea that, mankind trying to play God by manipulating the fabric of reality ends up turning himself into a half-human, half-animal chimera hybrid. That is the story of the antediluvian past, So it's interesting that they've stylized it in what we call the fly, but still, I think it's easy to see where they get their inspiration from. The genetics of angel and man are based around animals. Angels are eagles, snakes, man are lion. Okay, you're losing me there. You're waffling a bit. I'm gonna have to move on from that. Sorry. Caught Alive says question the answers. Oh, good to see you. I usually catch you in the Telegram group, but it's good to see you here as well. Isn't that Kingdom Hearts shoes? Yeah, those things look ridiculous. Cheese feet, I know, right? But these are being sold as legitimate items of clothing. £167 for those horrible looking things. What an absolute nightmare, honestly. Mickey Mouse shoes in fashion. They're in high fashion right now. Yeah, if you're not wearing them, you're actually a loser. You're a weirdo. You know, you're not up to date with the fact. You're an unfashionable freak if you're not wearing the giant cheese shoes. I hope you remember that. What an absolute mess. It's all devil-driven counterfeit dribble. That's right. Absolutely. It's Supreme all over again. Yeah. What's your shoe size? Why, is someone going to pay for them and send me some? Send in the clowns, absolutely. Clowns causing phobias. Clowns are dressed up people. Yes, they are. By their own existence. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I've got a lot of confusing words just thrown at me about clown phobias, but no one was explaining what any of it means. Okay, but yeah, in terms of clown phobias, yeah, like I said, every 3 months or so, the news mainstream outlets always release a study that shows why people are scared of clowns article every 3 months or so. It's really bizarre that they even bother, to be honest. Why even point it out? Maybe it's because I started talking about my stuff again. I don't know. Maybe. All counterfeit stuff. The power of the blood of Jesus turned upside down. That's right, yeah. The Diablo games were pro anti-demonic. I don't know what that means. Make it stop. I'm sorry, I did just come at you thick and heavy with a load of nonsense, didn't I, in that opening presentation? Yeah, it's all pretty bad right now. All counterfeit stuff. Yeah. Jesus Christ is saddened by all this ancient rebellion. People have become brute beasts, says Natasha. That's true. That's true. It just seemed like... I don't know why, but for some reason I was on Twitter today, and I'm surprised that Twitter gets away with this, but I keep seeing people get shot and killed. He keeps showing me footage of shootings happening in America, and it's brutal. Some of the things that are on there, bloody, nothing's blurred out. It's like, how is this allowed to be on Twitter, and why is it in my feed? What's going on here? But yeah, it was just a daily reminder just how horrifying the world has become, and just how readily and cold people have become, and how easy it is for one man to kill another, and with very little remorse. It's kind of sad. And yeah, I see a lot of that lately. But I suppose it's always been the case, unfortunately. This world has been corrupt since the beginning, and it hasn't really changed much, I suppose. Hello, it's me again, Margaret. Thanks for being here. 666 pints is a very convenient number to have donated, I know, right? Absolutely. They also have Jax the Rabbit, who is based on a CGI bunny jester. Yeah, I know. Again, I'll make a separate video on the amazing, whatever it's called, the circus thing. I watched the whole pilot like 2 weeks ago when it got released, and yeah, it's full of it. It's absolutely full of it. High-end symbolism from start to finish. And no, I'll admit as well, it was actually kind of funny. This is how they get you, isn't it? But it's definitely fits into what I talk about. Absolutely. Paul, look up Poppy the Performer. I already have. I'm very well aware of Poppy and his father, the son jester, and his sidekick, the wolf man thing. Yep, I'm very well aware. That one is really old and terrifying and weird. That one is creepy to watch, to be honest, and full of brutal stuff. All jester clown related, absolutely. That's another one I kind of need to make a video on, though I am sure I've mentioned Poppy the Performer in one of my Truth or Therapy sessions. Maybe one of the episodes within the 20s or the 30s. I can't remember. I'm on episode 44 now. But yeah, Poppy the Performer is another one. Absolutely. I'll probably talk about Poppy the Performer in a Nephilim Look Like Clowns episode while I discuss the amazing digital circus, because they do kind of go hand in hand as things to discuss, you know. So I probably will bring them together. Let me guess, a hat man. Yeah. Stuck on an island like the Tempest. Cain and Bubble, or Cain and Abel. That's right. Yeah, the bubble. That's right. Baron Samedi. Huh, yeah, that's right. That's what he was dressed like in the middle. Saddened because these behaviors, they make the choice to call Satan their daddy and reject Jesus. I know it is sad. Bubble is so cute. Yeah, this is the problem though. This animation comes out and people have just become enamored with it. They have fallen in love with it instantly. And don't get me wrong, I mean it's funny and it's colourful and the animation style is clever and everything, but it's not as enlightened as people think it is. I mean, is entertainment that bad these days that as soon as something like this comes out, people just jump on it? I don't know. I thought the themes were contrived at best and heavily occult inspired as well. You know, more of the same stuff when you've got the eyes to see the usual. You know, so I don't know, but I can see the appeal. I can, but I don't really. I can't condone it. You know, it's definitely supporting. Well, not supporting. I don't suppose it's showing AI in a positive light, but in like a predictive programming style manner. I do think shows like that do inspire people to want to be a part of a virtual reality rather than the real world. You know, and I do think it does inspire a small minority of people to want to be trapped in an AI controlled world in some way. And we have to be careful with these type of shows because they are adding to the collective zeitgeist, as people would say, you know, and it's pushing mankind's consciousness and thought processes in a certain direction. And it's not good for us in the end result. So again, we got to be careful with these type of shows. And again, I just think it's weird that it cropped up while the clown is has come back this year. You know, it's all on theme, isn't it? It all just seems a bit designed, if you ask me. The abyss is hell. Cain is given a godlike role, and the characters are trapped in a digital afterlife that forbids the senses, and censors sin like swearing, but allows God's name to be present. Interesting. I like Banksy's Shoe Shine Ronald. Is it still around? Oh, I'm not sure about that, but I remember that one. Jesus wept over Jerusalem. Jesus wept over rejection of his brethren. Yet he still came and he still went to the cross for them. But his return will be wrath. That's right. If he hasn't already returned, that is. But that's a whole thing for another time, isn't it? Absolutely. Sorry, the chat just jumped away from me there, guys. So I've got to try and find out where I was before I carry on. The devil's lease on the world is almost up and the landlord is returning. So the shenanigans are ramping up. That's one way of viewing it, yeah. Insane Clown Posse is playing at the Masonic Temple tonight for the Hallow Wicked concert. For 30 years they've been playing there. That's right, Pat. Thanks for reminding me. I did see that article. Yeah, Insane Clown Posse are playing a Halloween special concert at a Freemasonic hall. What do you know? It all comes back together, doesn't it? Full circle. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that one as well for my Nephilim Look Like Clown series, because I haven't actually made one about the Juggalos directly yet. I think it's one of those episodes I'm going to have to handle with care when I do talk about them, so maybe I have to maybe you guys can look forward to that one day and I'll add that particular event that you've just mentioned into the fold. But yeah, the Insane Clown Posse are definitely something that needs to be mentioned. I've seen some awful ICP tats in my day. Yeah. All crucified images are pagan, not holy. That's true. That's true, yeah. It's kind of like a celebration of his death in a way, isn't it? A worship or a veneration of his death, rather than a focus on his resurrection, which is what the important part was. You know, he defeated death at the end of the day. It was a victory, not a loss. Howdy, Paul and everyone, says Kimberly. Thanks for being here. I wonder if all the Greek mythology are just Nephilim, says Question the Answers. Yeah, pretty much. Fallen angels, Nephilim, old gods, ancestor gods, new gods as well, parent gods and new gods. You have the gods of Olympus who defeated the old gods, the old god, but I do think it was Nephilim fighting over fallen angels, and reestablishing themselves with the same names and powers. Because you find the old gods are just carbon copies of the new gods, just with a different name. So it's kind of like the angels pretended to defeat themselves to create some sort of weird narrative and then produce demigods, which were the Nephilim. And yeah, a lot of it is. A lot of the Greek mythology can be understood through a biblical lens quite easily, actually. I've talked about this quite a lot on my channel. I've wrote a chapter, or quite a few paragraphs on it in my book as well. And Gary Wayne has broken it down a lot in his work as well, and we talked about it in the recent interview. So if you go over to my channel, you can find a good 2-hour talk with me and Gary there, which I've just started breaking down into smaller segments and releasing the videos. But we do talk about the Greek gods, and definitely the sirens as well is a big one to do with that, which, again, go check out that video if you want more information on it. But absolutely, the Greek mythology is just a stylized version of biblical history. Absolutely. Paul, are colourful festivals just to be safe, to be seen as red flags in general? I suppose so. In a way. We should be weary of large. How do I explain this? Where many people gather, energy is produced in a way, and festivals tend to direct the energy of those individuals towards an idol on a stage. Now, the colours are secondary to the act, the spiritual act of idolization, and we're supposed to put nobody else before God, in that respect, in Jesus. And I find, I imagine hell to be a lot like a festival. A festival where it's in full swing, it's been raining, it's day 3, the ground is trodden and destroyed and just a muddy slush, and people are screaming and writhing over each other to try and get a glimpse of their idols, And if you listen to the screams and wails of a festival, and close your eyes, and drain out the music, I do believe that's probably what hell sounds like. That's what the much wailing and gnashing of teeth sounds like. And I do think there's something to be said for something on such a huge scale with thousands of people recreating a scene from hell. It sounds like a ritualistic thing to me, trying to channel some kind of weird energy into the earthly realm from the spiritual. I don't know what it is. But there are certainly hyper colourful festivals with checkerboard floor. It depends what symbols are being used. Like if you see clowns everywhere and you're seeing people dressed like hybrid humans, animal hybrid humans at these festivals, then yes, I would be extremely weary of it, because you dress like the thing to channel the thing. So if people are dressing like hybrid monsters and clowns, then they are channeling Nephilim and hybrid humans, and faux Nephilim, So yes and no, be careful, I'm not saying all music is evil or all festivals are necessarily evil, but you've got to test the spirits, you've got to think about it yourself when you're there and try and figure it out. And not least to say that most festivals are absolutely rife with drugs, which again are their own type of portals, So yeah, take it as a red flag and just be careful, I suppose is all I can say. I often hear of a lot of pets disappearing during Halloween. Probably got sacrificed. Yeah, I have heard that too. All Souls Day is something close to today, I think. Some kind of blasphemous mockery, no doubt. Yeah, it came after All Saints Day. Again, it was a Catholic attempt to Christianize a pagan ritual, which was a very common practice back in the day. Don't stand in the path of mockers, which means don't stand in their way, nor stand in the same path they stand. Don't do it. Amen. Don't stand in the path of mockers. Well, I don't know. Sometimes, sometimes some people deserve to be mocked. Especially this day and age, especially in this clown world. But I understand it's not the best spirit to be in. I understand. Please pray tonight and hold your babies a little tighter. Absolutely. Oh, I just realised you guys are still in October 31st. I'm in New Zealand. I'm on November the 1st now. Okay, so yeah, for you, Sarwain's in full swing. I live very close to Les Wexner in Ohio, Epstein's financier. Praying extra hard tonight. Okay. I wonder if they will fully create that place, the long wall, like city in the Middle East. Oh yeah, the line. I think it's called. That one's trippy, isn't it? I saw that. Yeah. I'm just gonna quickly scroll down the chat now, guys, just to catch up with what's going on. Then we'll discuss a few extra things as well that have been knocking about in my mind recently. How long have we been going for? Let me just do a quick time check. An hour. We were going for an hour. Okay, it's quite a decent chunk of time. I saw through Santa's beard. I only remember the ugly. What do you think about the idea that some of the incidents may have a controlling hand behind them? I can't really talk about that, to be honest, Chris. Not without losing my channel, so I'm not going to go there. Have you ever researched Thunderbirds from the Native American lore? Loosely and briefly, but yes, I do understand that they consider things like lightning and thunder and rain to have spirit animals attached to them and gods of a sorts. The Heyoka is a demon who rides a horse who brings lightning and thunder. And the Heyoka tribesmen dress up like the Heyoka Kachina in black and white fractal patterns to mimic this thunder god. So there's many types of gods or entities that control the thunder, and thunderbirds to me just sound like fallen angels. Definitely. Thanks for all you do, Paul. Thank you. I know, right? The South folklore speaks of never giving a stranger your real name. Always use a nickname with anything you don't know, love and trust. There's more, but yeah, I agree, they carry weight. I live in the Peak District. We have some mermaid pools here, where local stories say men have been dragged in and drowned. That's terrifying. Right, so I think I've caught up with the chat there, and there's a few other things I'd like to discuss. Obviously, they're in the thumbnail of this video, and I think a hot topic right now in the truth of culture, and it seems to be gripping a lot of people's minds, and a lot of people are kind of contending with and battling with this concept that we're in the little season, and people have been arguing about praetorism, and people are saying, praetorism is nothing new. It's been around for decades. These ideas aren't new. You're not clever for thinking about this stuff. People have been saying that Jesus Christ has already come and gone since I was a kid. Blah, 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 blah. Dismissive. And I've always said this idea of, well, no, what people are discussing today in regards to the millennial kingdom already happening, I wouldn't call it preterism in the old school definition sense, because the people aren't getting there through old school means. People are getting to this conclusion through a new way, which is through the Tartarian stuff. And I made a truth of therapy video, tips for truth video, saying, conspiracy fads come and go all the time, and try not to get too swept up in them. And this Tartarian one is like has for a good few years been the latest big major truth topic. And before that, for a good 3 years, it was Mandela effect. And then before that, for a good 3 to 4 years, it was flat Earth. And before that, for a good 3 to 4 years, it was the end of the world. And there's been loads of these things that come around every 3 to 4 year cycles that kind of utterly shake up the truth of culture and paradigm shift people to a new dimension in perception. And the latest one, obviously, was the Tartarian stuff. And people have been swimming in that now for a good few years. And now the thing that's kind of gripping hold of the truth of culture is whether or not we're in the little season. And that's, again, it's all kind of a stepping stone thing, isn't it? It went from flat Earth to Mandela effect to Tartaria to little seasons. And I try, like I said, not to get too swept up in believing these things 100%. Only because we are heavily deceived, and there is such thing as controlled opposition and controlling the flow of information. And I do feel sometimes like we can be being corralled in certain directions with these topics. However, I do research them fully when they appear, when I go deep into each one, because I want to know what the beliefs in it are exactly. And there's a lot of interesting, fascinating things to do with all of these topics, which are pointing to them being pretty much true, right? And I get that, I do understand that. But I've always been of this mind that as true as these things may be or may not be, I will not let them affect the way I live my life too much. Okay? Too much. Obviously, in some ways, sometimes you have to let them in, and you have to adopt a new way of being based on certain truths, I'll admit. But these ones themselves, they're not salvation issue stuff, so I try not to let it overcome me and become my personality. And the only thing that matters in my mind and worldview from that moment on, which I find a lot of people in the truth of culture tend to do with these type of topics, and they plateau on them and they stay there on that level, and then they cling to it for eternity, and everything has to be kind of interpreted through that lens from then on. And I've had comments in the past when I say these things like, well, you do nothing but talk about clowns. It's kind of like, yeah, but I don't think about them when I'm not on YouTube, and I do talk about other topics as well outside of the clown thing. And, the clown thing is just a topic and a theory, not exactly a huge movement that's gripping the world by storm and pushing the truth movement in all crazy directions, which these big ones tend to do. And I don't know, I was asking people in the Telegram group about what do you think is going on with this little season stuff exactly, and people have been having their own discussions, even without me bringing it up in there, about where do you stand on this, and the Christians' culture itself, is not divided, but there are many school of thoughts within the Christian community, and they don't all agree with each other, and there just seems to be right now this strange split. And this is a relatively new phenomena. Like I said, it was always around, like people have argued, praetorism, the belief that, full or partial praetorism, that we are, in the little season and the millennial kingdom has come and gone, has always kind of been around, I suppose. But right now, it does feel like this particular subject is splitting the Christians in half. And you have, on one side, the staunch believers that Christ is just about to return and reign for 1,000 years. And then on the other side, you have the staunch believers that it's over. We're in the little season. Christ is already here, and he's all sorts of theories about where he is, but let's say he's in the North Pole just waiting to be encircled by Satan's army. And then you have the arguments of, well, we can see prophecy being fulfilled right now in the world. Therefore we know that Jesus is about to return and he hasn't already been. And then you get people on the other side saying, no, Satan in his little season has deceived us all and is mimicking things to make it look like prophecy is being fulfilled in order to mold and shape us into his army. Bit by bit, and he'll present a false Christ again, just like was done in the past, to lead us against Jesus, basically, and make us believe that we're fighting an evil force, but really we're going to be fighting against God or something like that. And again, there's all sorts of school of thoughts and arguments on this, but the split seems to be in the middle. Either Jesus is about to return and it's imminent, and you are evil for even suggesting anything else, or Jesus has already returned. He was being very literal when he said his return was imminent to his disciples. It's already happened, and this 1,000-year reign is over, and we're now in the little season just before the final great white throne judgment. And I've never seen even I suppose Mandela effect and flat Earth kind of did this to Christianity in a way, but I've never seen this kind of division before in Christian thought. And I don't know what to make of it. And again, I'm not too 100% on where I stand with all of this, but I do like to speculate. That's what I do. I speculate on these ideas. Because I can, and I don't feel like it's an issue that I do these things. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it shakes my faith or something or whatever. I don't think these things matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Either, I'm covered by the blood of Christ in faith, and I'm going to be saved and get to reign with Him for 1,000 years, or I'm covered by the grace of faith and in Christ, and I'm going to be okay in the great white throne judgment. Whatever. Does it matter? Does it matter which time we're in necessarily? You get what I mean? As long as you've got yourself covered by that, I suppose, in that respect. I don't know. I mean, if you want to get all Christian about it and view it from that way, it shouldn't be a huge splitting issue, surely. And I hate to see people get all flat earth about this, or get all Mandela effecty about this, and get obsessive about it. You know what I mean? To the point where it's like a be-all, end-all type theory or idea or concept. Because again, these type of things do crop up kind of like clockwork in a 3 to 4 year cycle. These big ground-shaking topics type of thing. So I'm always weary. I'm just watching. I'm watching and listening, and I'm taking it all in. I'm listening to all the sides and the arguments. I've made my own arguments for the post-millennial reign, or my own speculations on what it would mean if it was true. Like, for example, well, if it's true, then Santa Claus is literally mocking Christ, because Christ is actually the one in the North Pole, not Santa Claus. So Santa Claus is a mockery of Christ in a literal sense, if it's true. So we have to reinterpret some stuff if it's true. Things need to be reinterpreted if it is true. And it's fun to reinterpret things based on that premise, and I enjoy doing that. But again, I'm not saying I know exactly what is and isn't true. I'm not. So I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up, and just an observation I've made about the whole thing. It's certainly interesting, and I think again because praetorism is an old term, I don't think it describes what these new people who think this are. They're not following praetorist literature. You know what I mean? They are coming to this conclusion because of the research they have done into alternative histories and alternative cosmologies and other things. It's a different way of getting there, and they haven't followed praetorist doctrine or philosophy to get to that conclusion. And they wouldn't even have called it praetorism if someone hadn't pointed it out to them. So I think someone described, in the Telegram, I can't remember, they said, I just call myself a little seasonist, or a little seasoner, or something like that, because that's kind of what you're on, and it's interesting, and it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all pans out, and what information does come to light, honestly. But I'm not sure where this one's going exactly yet, but it's getting bigger, and it's definitely gripping people a lot stronger lately. I think people are really struggling with the concept that, Jesus might already have come and gone. I think a lot of people are really upset by that thought and don't want to believe that. They kind of, in a way, I think it makes them feel like they think they've been left behind or something. Not understanding that actually you've been given a second chance, and that's why you're here. You've not been left behind, but you were actually somebody who never got a chance to find Jesus in the other life. You may never have got a chance to be born, and that's why you live now. All the unborn babies and all those who didn't have a chance at life in previous millennia get their chance now, perhaps. I don't know. There's loads of theories about what's going on and what it would mean. But I don't think people need to be so disheartened to consider that it might be true. And I don't think their faith should wholly be shaken by it as much as I think it is. And I was explaining in another video, and I do feel like, because I've been listening for the past decade to preachers and other people and Christian thought leaders telling me, prophecy is being fulfilled, the Antichrist is on the scene, the mark of the beast is around the corner. We're going to see the Antichrist come on the scene. We're going to see Jesus Christ return. All prophecy is being fulfilled, and I've been following it. I've been seeing it all. I've seen all the stuff, and that's kind of where I was for a while. All the signs are happening. The earth is being destroyed by earthquakes and floods, and end time stuff is happening. Revelations is coming to fruition, and I can't help but now I've got this whole little season knowledge under my belt, and I've kind of research that angle and perspective about where we may be in the timeline and how it may have been manipulated. I can't help but listen to these preachers now and feel like there's something snake oily about it. Do you know what I mean? Something like, I feel like there's definitely a con going on somewhere about who we are and where we are and what time we're in. I do feel like there is something, and I can't put my thumb on it. It's a gut feeling. Okay, but I do listen to these preachers and everything, and I do feel like they're just saying all this stuff to the congregation to keep the money and tithes coming in, to maintain a on the edge of your seat fear type mentality, to maintain their livelihood, their position of authority and power over people. There's something weird about it, and I'm not gonna lie, the more I research this alternative view that we may be in the final stages, things do click into place. I'm not gonna lie, okay, and it's a feeling more than a logical conclusion. Even though there is a lot of things and arguments that have been made that show it could be a logical conclusion, all logic out the window. I have a gut feeling about this one, right? I do feel like all that stuff I listened to in the past about Jesus is right around the corner, about to return, I was supposed to believe that from it's like the controllers want me to believe that stuff. It does feel like there was a con going on with it all. Okay, and believing and thinking about this concept that we're in the little season does feel like it's information I'm not supposed to have figured out. I do get this sense from it, you know what I mean? And the way it has shook up Christian foundational faith in a lot of people says a lot to me as well, because it shouldn't. But it does, and that makes me think that there's some kind of brainwashing that's happened here, which has made people attach themselves so vehemently to their theological understandings and interpretations of scripture, and I do feel like when read at face value, we were told by Jesus, I'm coming back immediately, and you will reign with me, as he said to his saints who were martyred. That doesn't sound to me like he said, I'll be back in a couple of thousand years. Okay, and it's just it's that simple, it's that face value stuff and it's these type of things which make you think, why do we have all these thousands of denominations for Christianity? That doesn't feel right either, and it feels like that's only something that can happen if you believe if we've been given 2,000 years to make all this stuff up, you know what I mean? To fester too much on these words. Something about it just feels like it's all a part of a confusion tactic. when the simple matter is Jesus already came and went, and we're just in a time of ultimate confusion and deception. We're in Satan's little season. He's got full reign for a short time, and it explains why everything's so hazy and confusing with all this topic and all these things. And it feels like this little season stuff clears that fog very quickly, and it takes a lot of pride, a dropping of a lot of pride, should I say, to for a lot of Christians. I imagine it's hard for them to consider that maybe they don't get to reign with Christ for 1,000 years. To consider that judgment is nigh. It's right around the corner. I think a lot of people are scared of that concept. I think a lot of people thought they were going to get raptured as well. That was a big part of it, and maybe it's a highly Americanized thing, to be honest, the whole rapture stuff. But I think a lot of people thought they'd have this magical moment where they get to avoid all the pain and suffering, And I think a lot of pastors and a lot of churches who are probably Freemason affiliated, to be honest, are preying on people's desires and fears. And the little season stuff stops people from being able to do that once it's known. Once you know where you are in the timeline and who you really are as a peoples and where we stand in history, you wouldn't be able to be so easily manipulated by these churches. Do you get what I mean? And these men spreading perhaps false, twisted doctrines that are preaching about something that's already happened thousands of years ago as if it's about to happen imminently now. Can you see how that, if that is a planned, purposeful con, it's an evil one, isn't it? They're selling people something that's right around the corner, which actually already happened over 1,000 years ago. Can you imagine that? Like, how evil that concept is? And I wouldn't put it past these Freemason, secret society ran mega churches to do. I wouldn't, and that includes the Catholic Church. So I don't know. Again, I don't have any final conclusions on this topic. I really don't. It's tough. It's tough to talk about. I mean, what am I supposed to? I'm not a spiritual leader necessarily. I don't know what I am. I'm just a guy who has a lot of thoughts, who says stuff online, And I'm not giving you any conclusions on this topic. I'm just trying to hash out my own thoughts on it, because it's a big one. Let's go back in time a bit. And I remember this happening with the Mandela effect stuff. I remember when it first came out. I was swept up in it as much as anybody else, and I was also in shock about all the things that I knew for certain were one way, but apparently were not. And this one has a weird split to it, because even the whole old world millennial reign stuff has their own new age angle to it all, and that's Tartaria. So the Christians have gone down the millennial reign route, while the new age types outside of the Christian perspective are going down the mud flood Tartaria stuff, aren't they? And the Mandela effect had a similar thing. It had the new age types and the Gnostic types basically saying reality has shifted into multiple dimensions and multiverses, and we are traversing between them with our consciousness. Some people are shifting into new realities while others are remaining in other realities simultaneously, and it became this really convoluted, complex, quantum physics level sci-fi nonsense story for a lot of people. Other new age types went down the route of they're changing reality. They are messing with reality. They are messing with our minds and our consciousness. They are tapping into the matrix and changing the code type of stuff. The evil controllers, And then the Christians kind of went down the route of this is all in control of God. Either they went down the route of this is all the controllers using CERN to manipulate reality to make us doubt creation, therefore doubt the creator. Like changing verses in the Bible, for example, and things like that. Or some people have said this is actually all done by God to protect us. And some people were arguing that what we are feeling in these Mandela effect ripples and changes in times is the ripple effect of a future event that's to come that utterly shatters the time zone, the time continuum or something like that. And this is when Jesus comes back. As soon as that happens in the future, we're feeling the closer we get to Jesus returning, the more Mandela effects are going to happen, because he has manipulated the entire structure of time itself with his event, And I've heard all sorts of theories around it, and this is another one that heavily divided people, because it seems like if you question for 1 second that maybe you just misremembered something, maybe you are being played, maybe reality isn't actually shifting, but through a huge, long con, we have been manipulated for decades with the sole intention that at some point in time in the future, we can get the people to believe that everything's changed, that reality is changing, or that we have the power to change reality. And it's as simple as, when people produced stuff in the past, they recorded 2 versions, for example, and they played one version for long enough and then swapped out all the copies with the new version in the future and erased it off the internet in the future, all orchestrated and designed so people would believe it's changed and reality is shifting. It could be that it's just one enormous long con. But then I find people get really upset when you say stuff like that. They get really, really, really offended, because they've gripped onto this topic and they've made it their entire life, to the point that if you stop pulling at its threads, they feel like you're pulling at them, their life. They identify with it, in a quite often an unhealthy, obsessive type of way. And they feel like you're gaslighting them, you're trying to call them crazy or something. And it's kind of, no, I'm not, but you have to be open to the idea that you could be being played, because that's the problem with conspiracy. We're being played, we're all being played all the time, And many people, Christians, have argued that it is just all smoke and mirrors. It is just a big lie, and it's done in a way to make people believe that the controllers have more power than they actually do, basically. And it's to take power away from God, because if we can manipulate reality, then we are, in a sense, stronger than God or as equal to God, which is just not the case, And I don't think you can change the past. Someone made a good point in the Telegram group. I'm not sure who, I just saw the comment in passing, but they said basically, if they could change time and change reality to be that way, so things were always a certain way, then the controllers would have gone back in time and made it so Jesus Christ wasn't crucified. They would have prevented him from conquering death and getting the keys to the underworld and taking full control over the demons, in that respect, giving us authority. They would have prevented him from fulfilling what he came to earth to do. But they didn't. That didn't change, So it's kind of like, let's not give these controllers that much power. And it does feel like the Mandela effect is like this huge psyop to make us believe that the powers that shouldn't be can literally manipulate reality and time and space itself, making them gods in our eyes. And I just don't believe it. I don't buy it. I don't deny that people certainly remember it being one way and now seeing that it's another way. I don't deny that that is their lived reality and what they're truly experiencing. But how they are experiencing that may be the con. It may have been planned this way. This could be a 50-year in the making psychological operation. It's an operation. It has a team. Thousands of individuals all working towards a common goal, all with different skill sets and ways of being in different departments, through generation after generation, being trained up, training the next generations to continue the con, to get it to a point where they can make people believe they've misremembered stuff, that they haven't misremembered stuff, but reality itself has changed. You know what I mean? Like, that's how these guys are patient in that respect. They will play these incredibly long psychological warfare programming games on us, and it feels like this may come under that category. You know, and I think we have to be careful with the Mandela effect. So, you know, I put in the title of this thing, you know, Mandela effect review, because it's a recap of a thing that's been around for long enough now for us that we should be able to maybe step out of it for a second and look at it as a whole. You know, I'm sure the shock factor must have worn off for many of us by now. Okay, of whoa, everything as I remember it no longer is. Okay. The shock factor has to have gone now to the point where we can take a breath and look at it again with trained eyes, you know, from a fresh perspective, and just be careful and look at the patterns. Like, these type of paradigm shifting topics always appear every 3 to 4 years. Okay, and after Mandela, it was Tartaria. Now, after Tartaria, it's Millennial Kingdom. In another year or two, something else is going to come up. Right? I've seen it now for over a decade. This is how it goes. Something else is around the corner. Some other paradigm-shifting, earth-shattering theory or concept is about to turn up. And we need to be ready for that, all right? And we need to we need to hold on and not get swept away with it. So yeah, there's just a few thoughts there I wanted to share about those topics. Let's see what you guys have to say, because I know these are touchy subjects for a lot of people. I know they are, you know, and that's why I talk about them, because it's fun. It's fun to prod and poke sometimes. Right, let's have a look. It's a lot of things have been said. I'm trying to scroll back. Thank you so much, Paul. I truly appreciate you and your beautiful family. I love hearing your perspective and gives me time to contemplate such amazing time with you, brother. Well, thanks, Mary. I appreciate that. So, Lodius, have you heard of the little season from Revelation? During that time, Satan's released to deceive. How can that be accomplished if everyone knows the reign just ended? Big time deception. Okay, so this is before I got to talk about it. It was like you were talking about it a little bit. We are not appointed to wrath. I believe we are all spiritual Israel, of those who believe and walk in faith. Yes. I'm not a believer that the physical place on earth we call Israel is much to do with the people of God these days, to be honest. It's a people, not a place, absolutely. Yep, a huge con is going on, but it hasn't just arrived, in my honest opinion. Apart from biblically, God does send a delusion that would, if it could, deceive even the elect. Yes. Yes, but the problem is we don't know the specifics of that delusion, and there are so many delusions going on right now then that it's hard to pinpoint these things, isn't it? People live far longer in the Jesus reign kingdom. They have a lifespan of trees, according to the Bible. Question the answer says, I've seen it be ridiculed, then no explanation given besides reaffirming the claim. Everything in the New Testament describes it clearly. When Paul said not to marry, he meant the next 2,000 years. No. Exactly, you know. it did sound like they were being extremely imminent with their language. It does seem like the case. 5013C corporate churches are evil, and that's nearly all of them. Um, yes, this is a highly American problem. I mean, our churches are empty in England. No one goes to them. It's not a thing. I say this with love and a bit of jest, but no one does Christianity quite like an American. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, you guys are way overt with it all. You go hard in a way, publicly and loud and proud with it in your churches that we just do not do in England. We're very quiet and solemn and serious in our churches, and they're usually just full of people who are in their 80s and 90s, or if not empty now. Okay, our churches are not like your churches at all serious and hush hush, and quiet and reserved type clergymen and what do you call them, sermons. It's not quite like how you Americans do it. And I do think your mega church thing, that phenomena you have, is a strictly American problem. I'll definitely say that much. I think he meant then for them. The time was then, so 2,000 years later is just as imminent. It all points to meaning then and not now. Ahead, yes. 5G rising to control. One thing we can never forget is that the enemy is bold. If they can find a way to deceive us with the timing of the end time events, they will. Absolutely, that's true. A very strong feeling because the pieces keep fitting, but I can't be super dogmatic. Yes. AI is spirit based, not computer based. Okay. I would even go as far as to say they might try to usher in the end times in their own times, so they can try and control outcomes. They doubt the power of God and think this way. Yeah, and that's the Gnostic way of thinking creeping in, isn't it? Because they believe they can be just as powerful as God, which is sad, really. I learned that a couple of decades ago when fully immersed in the Bible. Joel Osteen is a master magician that talks with demons. I could believe so. We're talking about spirits and electrical things. Satan uses tech this time round. So much deception, yeah. Strange that Black Mirror is now a euphemism for smartphone. Yeah. Yeah, the old John Dee's old black obsidian scrying mirrors are now in the pockets of every single individual in the in the world. A highly witchcraft orientated society, that's for sure. I think the Amish had it right from the sounds of it. What's worse than man-eating giants? That is correct, a demon-filled robot. God, it doesn't get much worse. Golems kind of remind me of AI too, just creepy automatons, yes. Jesus said, worse than ever before, so that is worse than the flood at time of man eating giants, a surveillance system that has fallen angel spirits behind it. How many self-driven cars have killed people? A lot. Have they? I've not really been following the self-driving cars stuff. Are they killing people? Is that what they're doing? I can believe you. I can believe that one. Absolutely. It sounds like it. I'll have to look into that. People catching up there who know each other. That's cool. Keep your head when all about you is losing theirs. Yes. If you have an anchor memory change, you won't deny it. See, this is what I mean. I'm not denying it necessarily. It seems highly convincing, but often the best magic tricks do seem convincing, don't they? You know, that's the thing. It's kind of like, how could they possibly have done this? You know, you've got to be careful. Philip K. Dick had a weird theory that we've all been lied to. We're in a matrix and we're actually living in the time of Acts. Quite strange. That is strange. Not so far from what I'm saying though. But living in the time of Acts is interesting. They will dry up the gas for the car they're pushing Electric Kingdom. Yes. We're raising consciousness. Peace. Nope. That's right, Humble Stranger. Yes, yeah. The hippies always think it's about becoming better and more enlightened and becoming our true godly selves when really it's all just a deception. It's funny in regards to the Mandela effect. People have said Men in Black are fallen angels, and in the movie they erase people's memory. That's interesting. Never thought about the Men in Black symbolism as them being angels who keep the hybrid things in check and erase people's memories. That's interesting, yeah. Maybe some of us won't take to what they've done and our memories can't be erased. Maybe. I think Dark City is another example of Men in Black characters controlling the memories of the people who live within their enclosed system and make them live different lives over and over and over again. There's something to be said for Men in Black, mysterious outside of society figures controlling our perceptions. Absolutely. Drunk Wedding Photographer, thanks for being here. The Fruit of the Loom thing confirmed it for me, yeah. We are in a loop. The reset theory is interesting. It is an interesting one. He was slain before the foundation of the world. Oh, it's like the chat's just skipped a beat there. And I've lost everything. Let me catch up. I totally agree. Conspiracy stuff is a way to play us. Mandela effect is also a thing. You doing this right now is enough to make me want to depart your channel, getting very upset. This is what I mean, Tombs and Temples. Like, what? This should not make you react like that. I'm sorry, it shouldn't. Like it, and if it does, and then you're going to suddenly disregard every single thing I could possibly say from then on, just because I have dared to question the dogma of the Mandela effect, it says more about you than it does about me. And if you want to leave, leave. You know, but I would prefer if you stuck around and maybe listened to some of my other topics and other things that are completely unrelated to Mandela effect. I'm not a Mandela effect channel. But are you saying I'm not allowed to have an opinion on it that goes against your belief? And if I do have that opinion that goes against your belief, everything I have to say from then on is invalid? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's not how one should live their life. I'm sorry, you know, it just really isn't. And if that topic has made you think like that, you need to question the hold that topic has in your mind. You really do. I could believe it's mass gaslighting, yes, as 42. It could be, yeah. Depends on how old you are. They change the times and seasons. Yes, maybe 42. Again, I don't want to give these people godlike powers. I'm not sure if they're capable of doing that. Touchy subjects shouldn't bother untouchy people. Yes. What's bumming you out, Tombs? I didn't know these ideologies are like cycles. Yeah, well, it's not that necessarily that they're cyclical, although a lot of these ideas aren't new necessarily. The Mandela effect is a very new one out of all of them, I'll admit. But I think that's only because it's the type of thing that could only exist during the time of the internet, where we have the ability to check on things, more readily than we have in the past. Yeah, but it's more like every 3 to 4 years a new topic turns up. Is what I'm trying to say. So keep your eye out for them. Something else is about to happen in the next 2 or 3 years that's going to utterly change our perception on all of reality. I guarantee it. Talk to Paul about it. He's not trying to upset you, Tombs and Temples. No, like I said, I've told you what I think about it. I'm not trying to shatter your worldview. I'm trying to help people. This is what I try and do. I try and help other conspiracy theorists stay level-headed, because it's all too easy to get obsessive about particular topics and end up looking really insane. And it's not a good look, and it's not good for you either. And these are not salvation issues, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's not something you should be pinning your entire life upon. Chris, sorry about the question before. I'll be mindful in the future. Yes. Yeah, I know. I mean, look, it's not like I'm not aware of these things happening. It's just that I have to be highly selective about the topics I choose to talk about. Not because I'm trying to censor anything, but it's because I am limited in what I am allowed to talk about, unfortunately, by my YouTube overlords. And while I currently have the Nephilim clowns thing going on, and I'm writing the book about it, I don't want to do anything that's going to compromise me being able to continue to get that message out. Because I'm the guy that gets that message out right now. That's me, apparently. That's what I do. So I'd rather wait till the book is published and finished before I start really getting back into all the crazy stuff, But as a creator right now, with a particular topic I need to bring to completion, I need to be careful about the extra topics I bring up, and that's just the way the game works, unfortunately. Maybe I'll consider starting a new podcast on a different platform or something where I can say these things. But again, I don't want to be the guy that becomes about certain other topics. I think I've got my niche right now, which I need to stay a bit more focused on. But yeah, unfortunately, we do have to be careful about what we talk about. We do. Otherwise, it can just all be taken away from us in a second. When people not yet Mandela affected so readily discard those of us affected. Tombs and Temples, I'm Mandela affected. I have memories of things which are no longer the way they are. I'm positive Febreze had 2 E's. Do you know what I mean? We've all got our own. I just haven't joined a cult about it. And I don't refer to myself or others as Mandela affected or un-Mandela affected. When you start doing that, classifying people as us and them, I'm sorry, but you're joining a cult. Okay, you need to be careful. And those people out there who are you may be listening to may have created a bit of an echo chamber that's kind of getting you into that strange, easily agitated and upset mind frame, And just because somebody questions something doesn't mean they're inherently evil or out to get you or against you. And that's not what's going on. People have to be free to share their ideas. They have to be free to share their ideas. I'm sorry. And we're not against you. We're not trying to upset you. I'm not discarding the affected, as you describe it, And don't define yourself as an affected person. You're making yourself a victim with that kind of language. Everybody is in some way affected by this Mandela effect stuff. I'm not saying, and I never said you aren't experiencing that things have changed. But what I'm saying is how you are feeling like things have changed, maybe where you've been played. Like how you have got to the conclusion that stuff has changed is the con. Like they may have purposely done stuff to get you to that point, is what I'm trying to say. And you have to think, these people are clever. You got to think about that. Deus Vault, but yeah, I've not heard that in a while. Talking about skating, I used to skateboard as a kid as well. Actually, yeah, I could do an ollie. That's as far as I got. I could do half a kickflip before I gave up and never went back to doing it ever again. That's basically as far as I got with skateboarding. Good fun though at the time. Good fun at the time. The worst preachers get the most publicity in America is awful, yeah. I've been severely ME since the 90s, maybe even before. I was always told I dreamed it. Made to feel I was wrong and crazy. Hated seeing so many waking up to the Mandela effect at the same time. I selfishly was glad to see I wasn't crazy. That ME are real, and I've got people to talk to about it they'll understand. Yeah. With your thoughts about 503, do you think that's some PMA damn? I don't know what's happening there. Sorry, the chat's jumping all over the place. It does this sometimes where I'm scrolling and suddenly it'll jump right to the end and I've missed like 50 comments and I've got to try and find the spot I was in previously. So that's why I'm quiet, guys. It's not that I'm drifting off to sleep or anything. I'm just trying to catch up with where I was so I don't miss these comments. I think it's important to discuss, not worry about agreeing. Keep asking questions, it's all good, yeah. Misdirection. Olstein. Again, I wouldn't know what his real name was, to be honest. That picture would make a great jigsaw. Just saying. Nobody knows everything, but everybody knows something. That's true. I like that one. Big ego, small minds. I'm not sure what that means. That kind of looks like Bigfoot too. I'm here to learn. May not agree with everything said, but I'm open to the conversation. Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it, Maurice? Would you rather encounter Bigfoot or mermaids? I would rather encounter neither. I don't think. That's not a choice. And mermaids are not as innocent as you think they are. Every time I've looked into real examples of mer people, they're vicious monsters. Absolutely vicious monsters. Terrifying, in fact. I found millennial reign being in the past isn't the only biblically accurate, but ties of all those topics together perfectly. Mudflood could have been from the Armageddon, Tartaria, short season aside. Could be where Christ went during the missing years of his life from the Bible. I was agreeing with Kelly Clark. Signs of the times. You underestimate them. orphan trains, people thrown into asylums, the empty cities, all of it is a result of when we are in that season, perhaps. Living life the same for most parts, wondering what is next and what to do is all I can do. Trying to learn about the past before it's erased completely, of course. Mind Unveiled channel is doing a lot of damage to truth community, says Tangent Angela. That's it. You're one of the first people I've heard say that. Everyone loves Mind Unveiled from what I see. I get nothing but recommendations of Mind Unveiled's videos all the time. People are constantly telling me to check out his work, not realizing that I've been subscribed to the guy for years. I've been listening to his work for years, and he is a Gnostic, hands down, a Gnostic alchemical thinker, and he comes at it all from that angle. And I obviously don't agree with him in his spiritualism in any way, shape, or form, but he has definitely shown some interesting historical things that have happened. I just disagree with his conclusions, spiritually speaking. D. Barker says, I'm Mandela affected, but I can't discount that for whatever reason something may have been done for us that see the effect for nefarious purposes. It could be that we are the ones who are wrong. Again, I don't know exactly. I'm not here to say again. I don't have all the answers. I don't. But I do. I want to pull people out who are drowning in fear or obsession over these subjects. I want to pull you back up and get you back on the path. You know what I mean? The straight and narrow, back into the world with the rest of us. And it's not that it's necessary. Well, I'm not saying it's evil or wrong of people to do that, but I do feel like you're very little use to people when you get obsessive about one obscure topic. And I think there's plenty more things that could be talked about or discussed or researched that get missed when you become hyper-focused on just the one thing. And again, with my clown stuff, I try to branch out and talk about other topics regularly, even though my main focus is the clown stuff, but it's not my only focus. And that's what I'd like people to, get off their obsession with one particular thing, is what I'm trying to say there. The Cabbage Baby stuff is ridiculous, and of course they have a book to sell. Yeah, I haven't actually watched them. I know all about the Cabbage Patch Kids theory. I did see that they published a book recently. Yeah, definitely, showing old bookmarks and stuff. I don't know exactly what to make of all of that. Obviously, you think it's absolutely ridiculous there, Angela. That's fair enough. I'm not sure babies were just coming out of cabbage patches. I'm not sure about that. It does seem quite artistically stylized to say that, doesn't it? That's for sure. But the thing is, reality is strange sometimes. And all things are possible through God. So I'm not saying God couldn't do that, but it is an odd one. It's definitely an odd one, isn't it? All right, guys. So we're coming up to. I've just hit the 2-hour mark from what I can see. Bang on. So I'm going to call it a night. I'm just going to quickly try and finish off this chat and see if we can't wind this down a little bit. The only Mandela effect I've gone through are the deleted scenes from the theatrical cut of Jurassic Park, says Drunk Wedding Photographer. Tombs and temples. Paul, please familiarize yourself with the obvious Bible changes. Yes, I know all about the Bible changes. Tombs and temples. I need you to understand. I was there at the beginning of the Mandela effect stuff. I've been doing this for over a decade. I was there when it came out. I made videos about it. I did collaborations with people. I was there. I saw all the changes. Okay, I saw all the biblical supposed Bible changes as well. I've done it all. I'm not ignorant. There's nothing you can tell me, okay, on this that is new. Now, it's an old concept. It's done, okay? Now we need to step out and relook at the whole thing, is all I'm trying to say on that, all right? You're not going to tell me anything that's going to make me change my stance that we need to cool it a little bit. I'm pretty sure Paul has not looked into the Bible changes you said a bit further on. You're wrong. But even then, there are quite a lot of Bibles. There's that as well. You do have to wonder. You have to consider that maybe we did get some things wrong in interpretations, and we've been reading different verses from different Bibles and interpretations and books, perhaps. But even if minor things were changed in the Bible, that does not shake my faith. It does not change the gospel. It changes nothing, as far as I'm concerned, all right? And whatever. Is all I have to say about that. Why should I? Are you saying I should then lose my mind over it? What's your conclusion? What are you trying to tell me I should feel because there have been Bible changes according to the Mandela effect theory? Like, what would you be happy with me reacting like? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. Sorry, I'm losing the chat again. Where are we up to? Clownsy call Nephilim randomly. Thanks for reminding me there, Carpe Diem. Thank you. Do you think the astral or DMT world is a real place? We could be sleeping here like the Matrix. The DMT realm is this world, and we just don't ordinarily perceive it with our limited perception. The astral plane is the same place. It's this world. It's one with this world. It's a necessary component for the projection of this world. I wouldn't think about it in terms of Matrix. It's a creation of God. It's not a prison. Okay, that's where the Gnostic thinking can get into things. It's our home. And it's not a trap we need to wake up from. We are embodied souls. We are embodied spirits in that respect. The body and the spirit is one. It's one in the same thing. We are spirits in flesh. But we aren't like spirits controlling a mechanical flesh puppet. That's not how it works. They're one in the same thing. And everything is spiritual. If you want to define it like that, including our bodies. We just have this dualistic way of describing things as physical and spiritual, but really we should have a word that describes all of it as one. I do believe in Eastern philosophy they describe it as Maya, but their definition of Maya is illusion, so it gets all Gnostic again, but you know what I'm saying. Just realised I was 20 minutes behind. Wow. Sorry guys, the chat just leaps to the end again randomly. Sounds like an English boy to me, go-karts. I don't know what you're talking about there. I like Mind Unveiled. Yeah. Scary freaking clown just came to my door. Yeah, there's plenty of clowns out tonight. Yeah, so Chris says, I don't really subscribe to Mind Unveiled's team's beliefs, but I do find their findings fascinating. It really jogs the mind of what gets buried in our history. Yeah, that's where I stand on it. They do definitely bring some interesting information to the table, but I don't believe in what they believe in their core beliefs. Yeah, take what resonates and leave the rest on the shelf, exactly. They're not saying that babies came from cabbages. It's a symbol for the cloning factories. Yeah, no, I remember, and there was another symbol, wasn't there, of that many-breasted woman as well, which is the thing that feeds the many infants, and it's like I remember it all. Some trippy stuff. It was interesting. I don't. Again, I'm not 100% if that's even true though. If it was the whole cloning thing, I don't know. Okay, Paul, somehow I'm painted as an obsessed person here. I assure you I'm not. I guess I'm confused because now you are saying you have experienced this and there's nothing else. Experience this, we don't all react the same way to the same experiences, I guess is what my response to that is going to be. I don't know what else to tell you. The Bible never changed, but there's been many versions, of course, yeah. Sorry, guys. Right. Have you done a video on the Yellow Submarine film and the Blue Memes? I haven't done a video on it, no, but I'm very well aware of it, Sam. Hey, Paul, you had a couple pictures that looked like Bigfoot rather than clowns. Yes, because the Western clown or Harlequin is based on the wild man tradition, which is where Bigfoot comes into it. Absolutely. So you would have seen some images there of the wild man of Europe come up on the screen in that random little 100 picture roll I've got going on that I haven't changed. I'm supposed to skip through them every hour or so, every 30 minutes or so to another reel. So you're probably looking at the same photos on repeat, which I apologize for, but whatever. What are you looking at now? You're looking at the creepy boy. You're looking at a clown on TV in multicolour Technicolor. Yeah, that is just terrifying. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this random little discussion and rant about all things conspiracy related, the big topics. It's been good to have a little bit of a truth therapy session with you guys. It's not after midnight yet, but it is coming up to midnight. It's 11:15, so it's getting late for me, guys. So I'm gonna leave it there. Again, thanks for listening. I'll be back with another live show in a week or so. I am on tomorrow. I'm on a podcast. Who am I with? Let me just check. Let me check my calendar. If you haven't already, I was on Eyes on the Right podcast that got released yesterday on Spotify with Amy. That was a nice discussion. So go check that one out. And I also was on My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast again a few weeks ago, and he has just made that public himself on his streaming platforms, which is Spotify and others. So go listen to my conversation there with Mark if you haven't already as well. For My Family Thinks I'm Crazy podcast. It was a good talk. I enjoyed that one. I took a little snippet of it and I uploaded it to my own channel yesterday, and people seem to really like that one. So that was a good one. But yeah, tomorrow I have a podcast with the Fact Hunter podcast, and it's quite a big one. George Hobbs, I think his name is. So that should be a nice talk. He's seems like quite a big channel who gets around a bit. So I'm looking forward to speaking with him. And then the next week I've got quite a few on. I am talking with Inquiries of Reality on Monday, and then I'm talking with Camp Herman on Wednesday, and then I'm interviewing a musician who was in the industry and had to deal with all the nasty stuff that happens there as well on Thursday. So I'm talking with someone else myself, and then I think I've got, at the end of the month, I'm with Stranger Clock as well, and I got a few other requests that need to be replied to as well for other topics as well. So that's yeah, quite a few podcasts coming up, guys. But yeah, I look forward to it. And like I said, go check out the ones I've done recently with My Family Thinks I'm Crazy and Eyes on the Right, if you haven't already. Right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for listening. And as always, God bless.